It's Const. It's DJ Fabster series once again. So it's the next episode, and my guest is Jesse from BetterCNC. Hi, Jesse.
Howdy, howdy.
Perfect. It's really great to have you on the show. So let me start right away. So funny enough, I think I learned about you and of course about your company. Not from LinkedIn at all, but from Reddit. So I just,
Oh, yeah?
I read a lot of the posting. That I think, you made some comments on Xometry, on your experience with Xometry and some other platforms, and that's how I found out about you. And then, of course, connected on the LinkedIn. So slightly unusual thing because again, I mostly use Reddit for some geeky things like I don't know smartphone things, fixing something at home, but definitely not machining. But it's it becoming a lovely place for machines as well. It looks like.
Oh, yeah. I actually, my very first job, my very first customer was a bunch of wood that I cut through somebody that found me on Reddit.
That's
When I
nice.
first got a machine, I was trolling through everything I could to find work.
So here we go.
And
So
somebody
now,
needed some CNC. Yeah.
so now Reddit is the almost a sales channel for now. And again, I think one of the things that they're doing now, they're selling the ads, of course. Promoting their.
Yeah.
I think they went to APO, right? So that's the reason why they need to push, all the stuff like that. But yeah, maybe for the good. For the good, we'll see, of course.
Yeah.
Anyway, so would be great to learn a bit more about your background, of course, and specifically how you get into manufacturing and why, of course.
Yeah, so I was actually pretty fortunate. My dad was a mechanical engineer who started a machine shop when I was about 6 years old. So I don't have any memories without a CNC machine of some kind running around in the background. But I kind of grew up in his shop. I got my clock-in number when I was about 10 years old. Started formally working when I turned 18, and he did a good job of actively working me kind of front to back in the shop. Started as a shipping clerk and literally just stepped through shipping, machining, programming, quality, production planning, front to back. But I've just always been in it. I don't know, as much as you can be in something. That's where I'm at.
I think it's perfect start, and this is, I think, really related and connected to fatherhood. Like, when you learn from your father something, again, it can be mechanical engineering stuff, it can be something else, it could easily be transferred into your passion. Yeah, and that's, I think, one of the greatest thing, because it's not always like that with all the relationship between the parents and the kids, of course. And again, for myself, of course, I hoping for that with my two boys. But again, it's who knows, really, who knows if it's going to be the case or not. So yeah, it's beautiful. It's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. So Better CNC. I mean, by reading the name, I'm already started thinking again, like, yeah, probably your experience with with some machine shops in the past, with machining at all in the past, led you to thinking, okay, so I actually can do better. Is it how it was, or not really?
Pretty much. So let's say I've job hopped quite a bit. Let's say I came up with my dad's shop, but I've actually worked at several other shops in my career. And I'm trying to make Better CNC kind of the culmination of all the good concepts from the different places I've worked at. So everywhere I worked, I mean, it's kind of the thing for everybody. There's always something you have an issue with, but there's also good aspects of everywhere you worked. And this is just kind of my grand experiment to put it all together and see what it looks like at the end.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's to me the perfect way when you are able to work a specific industry for some time. You learn from different companies, from the owners of those companies, like learn how to do things in a good way and how not to do things, of course, at the same time, and you're able to, just combine all of that into your experience and then build out something out of that. So that's the way, because the other way obviously is I mean, when you're building from scratch, you will probably be facing the same things, the same issues as any other businesses in the beginning, of course, and that's kind of natural things. So if there's any way, any corners that you can cut, that's a good thing, kind of, because again, like, we want to learn, of course, as much as we can, but at the same time we want to, just grow faster. And yeah, anything, any helpful for that for sure would be good. Okay, that's interesting. So what would you say, I guess maybe, I don't know, maybe top 3 things that you do differently, compared to the other shops, something that you're proud of, maybe?
Yeah. So one big aspect for my company, I refer to it. I want to make BetterCNC a machinist's playground. Where, let's say, right now I'm the only machinist. I've actually got a part-time machinist that just started last week. But I want it to be where you have the free range, you have all the tools available, you have the right tools available, and we put faith in the machinist to do the job the best way. So pretty much, let's say I've taken, last year I did a lot of experimenting trying to find the best end mill for stainless steel, because I'm trying to lean a lot more into the harder metals as we go. I've never worked anywhere that did that. You kind of got the budget 4-flute tools, you got the budget tools, and they said, go make it happen with this. Well, I'm trying to find the best tool, the most ideal tool for the job, and go to town with it. And I'm learning on my own. I'm machining stainless steel 3-4 times faster than I have at any other shop I've worked at, because I've done this effort. But by kind of allowing that creativity, by allowing that trust in the machinists, we can actually learn new concepts. We can learn new ways of doing things internally, just by that discovery process right out the gate.
Yeah, I mean, discovery process is really the thing that I think even sort of the split, like, best entrepreneurs from from others, because again, like, you're constantly learning, of course, and you constantly improving something, not even because it's like something that market demanding, or it's just you demanding to be better. That's it, just you demanding yourself. So I think it's super important, and it's, again, I think it's by nature kind of the thing.
Yeah, no, and something I would say, because I've trained a lot of folks over the years, and something I've always done with people I train is I'll show them how I do something, but I'm always very explicit. I'm saying, this is how I do it, this is why I do it this way, but if you come up with a better way of doing it, a faster way, a more accurate way, let me know, because I'll probably change how I'm doing it to fit.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that you're never locked in that mindset saying, this is the way we do it because this is how we do it, kind of thing.
Yeah. The other interesting thing, again, obviously, I took a look at your profile on LinkedIn, and just something that, of course, something that I noticed, of course. So you became a dad just recently. So again, congrats on that. It's a really big thing. So how you feel of this thing, that combining being a dad and also, like, the founder of the small business? How you feel about that?
Let's say it's starting a company is kind of stressful on its own, but building a company from scratch when you've got an extra mouth to feed that's dependent on you at home is just kind of another level to that. But for me, it's also just kind of I'm making it kind of thing, because business never ends. There's no finish line where you cross the line and say you're done, but you always kind of have that. You always do things and you're like, this is happening, I'm actually doing it. And just being able to provide for my family from a business I started out of the garage is just kind of one of those real big things for me, to just say, wow, this is actually working, this is actually doing what it's supposed to do, which is just really cool to experience.
Yeah, so it is also should be kind of a rewarding feeling, of course, and something that, again, I mean, a lot of the founders, of course, like, have a mindset that you kind of beating you for you basically blame yourself for a lot of the things, and that's okay because you want to improve yourself, but the key is to not blame yourself to death, basically, while improving your skills and while just moving forward. And with having the family, having the kids, that's on the next level, and I think it also just helps you to move faster, because you kind of have to.
Yeah. Oh
So
yeah. No, it's definitely kind of a kick in the rear, like let's say, because I've been in this beginning stage for a little bit, and we've been on the cusp of kind of stepping it up, and just having my daughter here now, I'm like that. I've got to be a little more professional. We've really got to step up the business across the board. But also, I'm also learning to put limitations where, let's say, I'm a lot of people starting companies kind of dive into hustle culture where you got to eat, sleep, and breathe the business. But having a new little one at home, I don't want to be here all the time. I have to find the way, force myself to make it work in reasonable hours so I can be at home, spend time with my family and things like that. And that's kind of drawing some lines in the sand like that, forcing yourself a little bit into a certain type of box actually helps you grow in more ways than you think.
yeah, completely agree with that. And again, it is partially the, of course, U.S. culture of doing things. Again, hardworking, of course, like 24/7 kind of hardworking, which
Yeah.
is, I mean, it's definitely something that you have to do, but at the same time, you still want to be inefficient. I don't think it's the right word here, but you still want to achieving things, but not to the cost of your health and mental
Yeah.
health and physical health and I mean family time obviously too. So because again, it's you need to recharge the battery somehow. Like
Yeah.
it's just impossible. Just go. It's just impossible. Obviously, it's needs to be the place, the time, the spot where we can recharge the battery and family. I think the family is definitely the answer for that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people starting out, they forget that you're supposed to work to live and not
Yeah.
live to work.
Yeah.
I think
That's
that the work is supposed to be secondary to life.
That's a very good point. That's a very, very good
Yeah.
point. So, yeah. So being a new company on the market, of course, and new founder on the market. So, what do you think? Like I don't know, maybe even the one of the most important skill set you think you need to develop, not to start the business, because again, anyone can start the business basically, but
Yeah.
really succeed. And again, by succeeding, I don't exactly pointing to some numbers or year, whatever.
Just
It's different things for different people, obviously. But what would you say would be the skill, let's say top one skill to really, start from the ground up and just do it, and of course succeeding. So, how do you feel about that? Yeah.
yeah, no, one of the biggest things I'd say, and it's something I'm still kind of sorting out as I go, is organization, being able to stay organized. Because a phrase I've kind of discovered as I go is your growth is often limited by how well you can organize the business. It's basically because if you're not very organized, then you're going to be panic ping-ponging everywhere in the company, and that means you're not going to be able to really chase new opportunities and new growth. But as you get more organized and you level that off, you can actually chase those more opportunities because you have more time, more availability from that organization.
So, from the organization standpoint, or organizing things, so I would assume that, I mean, it also means focus, of course, focusing on the core things that, that really help you to grow, not something like nice to have or nice to do, kind of, but
Yeah.
really the core things that really you can see it's something that help you to moving forward. So in your work, in your shop, so what do you think? What do you think it is? Is it related to automation? Is it related to just the processes that you were able to organize, again leveraging the software, or maybe just some other things? So how you overall, how you think about the organization and what exactly you do to stay organized and be able to focus on the core things? Yeah.
Yeah, so a lot of it, a lot of just the organizational aspect to help the business grow and flow better is related to the front end. Let's say most shops, the way stuff flows from the machine to shipping is pretty straightforward. You program it, you cut it, you check it, you ship it. But the administrative side, where a lot of guys starting machine shops are a bit weaker, is where you really see that difference. and a lot of it's partly learning how you work. So for me, I'm a little bit old school. I still like having a physical traveler, at least until I get a better system into place. Having something physical where I could say this is where things live that need material. This is where things live when they're ready to run. This is where things live if material's here. Kind of where I could have a visual, obvious check. That way, as I'm flying through my day, I can kind of check things off at a quick glance. Okay, there's nothing in my to be ordered bin. There's supposed to be material getting here today. By just looking at the locations, I put those things, because that's how I work. I don't want to have to sit and track and dig through a list. I just want to be able to say, okay, nothing's in that pile, something's in that pile. Let me check it off my list. Let me go to the next stack, check it off my list. Mm-hmm. But yeah, just building your organization system around the way that you work, around the way that you think, is big.
Yeah. So, question related to that is the interesting one to me. And again, this is my kind of take on how I see some shops in the industry, of course, and where I see those shops lacking is, so I mean, it looks like there's the many shops that, I mean, produce very high quality parts and be able to constantly produce those parts without big issues. So production itself is definitely on the level as it needs to be, but
yeah.
Administration of that, like I'm talking about invoicing, payments, accepting the orders, communication, that's where things lacking. It could be different reasons for that, right? So I mean, if we're talking about like moms and pop shops, small shops, so people obviously had great skills as mechanical engineers, as the engineers that know how to produce the parts, but on the business level, it's it's some gaps that noticeable, or maybe it's not even the gaps, but maybe people just not care enough of those things, thinking that okay, so I mean, I can win the business by just making high quality parts or better parts than others. Is it right assumption or not? So how you think about that?
So I've seen guys where it's just as long as they think as long as I produce good parts and get it out the door, the work will come and I'll stay afloat. But really, as the industry at large modernizes and becomes more digital as we go, it's not really the way it works so much anymore. Because it used to be, you stay afloat because you're the local machine shop. Like open the yellow pages, you're the machine shop on the list. But because it's so easy to jump online and find anybody now, that's kind of an old school mindset. But it's still out there. I've come across people that still kind of think that way, and usually they're the people that you see in 6 months or so posting around the internet saying, "I'm out of work. What are you guys doing?"
Okay, yeah, that's. Okay, so that confirms a lot of my thoughts about that, and I think it looks to me that at some point, and maybe maybe we are already at that point, the lack of the business, not even the skills, but business organization could be critical now, and there is no excuses for that. And the reason why I'm saying that, it's so many very affordable tools to really make your business more organized, much more organized, without hiring additional people, which is, I think, like extremely important for the small business. Obviously, for many operations, you as a single founder now, you can manage tons of the processes, like as a basically like one man shop. It's now, I mean, even 10 years ago, we wasn't close to the point that we now, with all available tools for us. So to me, it looks like it's, again, no excuses for not having, like, the aligned business process and business processes at all in place.
Yeah.
And it just, the question is, do you really want to grow your shop or not? Or do you want to really grow the business? If answer is no, and you're like, I'm okay with, all my existing customers, like I have like 50 of them, they all local, I love to work with the local people, which is perfect, of course, and I just don't want to grow, that's fine, that's completely fine. But question is, for how much time you still can do that, because those people also have internet connection, and at some point they will find out that it's some other some other suppliers, some other machine shops in the world, I mean even locally. So yeah, I think we are at the point where there's no excuses to not get your business organized, processes organized, invoicing, payments. We're talking about like, I'm not saying it's a simple things, but I'm saying those things can be, you can take them under control, not easily, but with a I think less efforts than producing high quality parts. That's to me the important thing.
More accessible than it used to be.
Yes. I mean, again, you don't need to have the mechanical engineering background to for those things. They finally very they finally very accessible, of course, and just easy to use. That's the case now for B2B software finally, because again, like we've been in a world when B2B tools was, very average, from the UI standpoint, and not everyone can just really learn that. But not now. Now it's just competition on different level for the software, of course, for the software folks as we are, of course, here. But yeah, I think it's for the good for sure, and people, I think, need to explore those things if they want to stay competitive.
Yeah, and I think a lot of shops starting out too, just at a very fundamental level, because I've talked to some guys about how to do this that are looking to start their own shop, is a lot of guys starting the shop don't really even put much thought to the business side. They're like, okay, how am I going to pay for the machine? How am I going to get my tooling? And how am I going to get the first customer? But they don't really think, well, how am I going to send them a quote? How am I going to invoice them? How am I going to track my purchases? So just at a very fundamental step, that's now required. You can't just get the machine and say, yeah, give me $50, I'll make that part. You have to actually write down on paper, do a flow chart of how is the business going to flow. Yeah. And I think doing something like that will help guys find software to implement and help them stay organized overall, because otherwise they're looking at something, they're still not clear how it's actually supposed to flow, kind of thing.
Yeah, agree. So, so how do you market your business? How you finding the customers? So, again, I'm assuming, of course, that for you it was number one priority in the beginning, because again, like having the machines and be able to manufacturing, that's the one thing. But finding the customers, that's essential. That's a foundation, basically. So how you do that now?
Yeah. So. Since I started the company, we've actually never really done much outreach. Most of our marketing is, I call it passive marketing, where it's stuff I just put up and move along with my day. But the biggest thing and the biggest draw that's brought customers into my shop is just having a nice website. I manage my Google My Business profile, so I know it's accurate and up to date, and it looks like it's accurate and up to date. And posting pretty regularly on social media to help make sure my BetterCNC name is trending. So whenever people are searching for I've come up nationwide with people are looking for Texas manufacturer. I've had people, one or two people from overseas, but just I've had people from Florida, Michigan, Arizona, California, Googling for a machine shop in some capacity, and my little bitty shop, BetterCNC in North Dallas, crops up, and I'm the one who ends up landing the work. But a big part of that is just by having a nice website, by putting a lot of thought into it, what it looks like, making sure it's what the customer wants to see. Because a lot of shops skip that step, and from day one of deciding I'm doing this, I wanted to make sure I don't skip those steps. Because that's an easy edge to get as a small shop starting out.
Yeah, it's definitely essential things. So basically, it's word of mouth plus. Of course, I'm assuming some SEO juice, of course, like Google and things like that, and the social media. So the combination of those things. And as you probably know, as I think all the people need to know, it's not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It just it just being consistent, it just not expecting the results like tomorrow. Again, it all takes time, of course. It's pretty much anything, of course. Any good things takes time. And yeah, I mean, with those efforts that I think now is basically accessible to anyone. Social media, having maintain your profile on Google, of course, is extremely important. Getting nice reviews, obviously, super important, and just being active on the social media, and just building your network. That's
Yeah.
that's essentially the foundation to at least take the business from ground up, starting to build some foundation, and then again, obviously you can spend some money on Google and some other platforms, obviously, but till this day, it's still the foundation for everything is still the website, the basically search optimization.
That is the funnel.
Of course, value proposition that you put on the website, and just overall content marketing. That's what basically created a name for you, of course, and just overall be helpful and be active for the community. And that's how people, of course, recommend you. I mean, it looks like it's a simple formula. So my question is, why not everyone applying that? So
I think as far as website, because that's a website is kind of a soapbox that I get on, is I think everyone should have a website. To me, it's insane not to have one. But something I see a lot of guys do is they don't think about what does the customer want to see. Well, if you look at a lot of machine shop websites, I'll look at it as a machinist, and I'll know they'll have an equipment list, and I'll recognize the equipment. Most of my customers have no idea what that equipment list would be. It's I think it's changing that mindset of what does the customer want to see in your website. They don't know what your equipment is. They don't care. You don't ask the plumber what brand of wrench he's using. You just say, fix it. My customers just say, build it. So I don't care about telling them what machines I use, what brand end mills I use. I let them know what type of service they can expect, kind of what our specialties are, things like that. Stuff they would ask me if I was talking to them.
Yep.
So it's just kind of that's that mindset shift. One of the competitive things about being in the digital world now is you have to have that edge a little bit more than you used to.
Yeah, and again, it's not kind of secret knowledge. It's basically talking to your customers and learn from them, like how exactly they think about the service that they're getting from you. Basically using their words, how they describe what they're getting from you, and kind of converting this into the value proposition and into your website, into all your materials. It's just required to be able to hear someone and hear customers specifically, and be able to convert it into the messaging. And again, like maybe for me it's kind of easier to thinking about in that way, because again I kind of marketing guy turned into the first into the machinist and then into the software guy, which is completely weird, I know. But things it is. So I mean, but at the same time, again, as I said, it's not rocket science. It's just something that requires some time, just a bit of time, of course, and dedication. Because again, so I think the most important part now is that people need to understand that they are on increasingly competitive market. The competition is continue increasing. So that's, I think, the most important thing. Again, if you want to stay in the business, it's better to start thinking about the changes. So I think that's the important thing. So I have another interesting question from the days when you started. So, and this is experience that I guess you described a bit on Reddit. So about exometry and just overall like marketplaces, of course, the experience with marketplaces. Because again, like I mean, in our industry, it's exometry, it's a few other marketplaces that are basically the marketing machine. Could be kind of a marketing machines for the machine shops to get the new jobs, of course. In other industries, again, it could be Airbnb, it could be Amazon and others. So it's not a new concept, of course. But to me, I just wondering again. I have my thoughts on how it works for other businesses, of course, in other industries. But what it was specifically to you, because you already understand everything, about the marketing, how to market your shop, what's important, how to get the customers, where to get the customers, developers proposition, all of that. So I mean, you definitely armed with everything to just build the direct channel. But again, you tried marketplaces. So what was the, again, initially in when you started the business, what was the role of the marketplace in your business in the first early days? Is it still have a place in your business? If you still get any orders from the marketplaces or not?
Yeah, yeah. So let's say starting out, my first customers, outside of the work I found randomly on Reddit and whatnot, Exometry was my primary customer. They were actually 70% my revenue my first year. And the reason I started with them is I started with my first machine was a Tormach 770 MX, which it could do precision work. It could cut any material, but it's very slow and it's very limited on space, on the size of parts you can do. And so part of my plan was to get on Exometry because that would give me the ability to not have to no bid every other thing that comes through the door. And I was still working somewhere else at the time, doing our marketing at that company and sales and everything, and I wanted to make sure I didn't cross wires anywhere. I don't want to lose my job at a moment's notice at that point. So Exometry gave me that ability to avoid no crossed wires, pick and choose my work as I got started. I know some people that kind of build their companies on Exometry, but my plan was to start with Exometry to kind of get us moving and kind of be a safeguard that I've always got something to look back on. But really the big picture things, I kind of see it as fill-in work. Mm-hmm. So if we have a slow day, if I happen to see a Jim in the sand on their page, then I'll grab it and use it to fill in some time and just get us a little further ahead. At this point, I kind of treat them more as a normal customer. So we're in our fourth year right now, and they're about 20 to 30% our revenue at this point. Mm. So still within our top 5 customers, but probably number 3 or so year to date so far.
Yeah.
But I think that's the safer way to operate.
Completely agree. Again, I mean, pretty much is in any other industries, like for example Etsy playing a big role for all the small merchants that not relying for most of their business on Etsy, but at least they starting at Etsy for sure, then building the brand. And not even the building the brand, they sometimes it's just the matter of just you learning how to produce products at first. How to satisfy the customers, what customers really want, what you can just adjust, tune up maybe in the processes, in the product. It's a big playground kind of that you can basically use to start. And I think that's amazing, and that's absolutely perfect. So and again, like in our experience, of course, at Digifabster, so we definitely have customers that basically use Xometry and the other marketplaces for, I would say, roughly 20% of the orders. So that's kind of the normal thing, and the rest, of course, it's always direct. And I thinking about that in the same way as I thinking about like Shopify versus Amazon, because again, like I'm being a fan of Shopify for sure. I'm really like this approach where you providing the solution for the shops that can build the whole customer experience on top of that. So that's what Shopify does, of course. And at the same time, obviously, you still want to run everything 24/7, and of course, the marketplaces and additional orders from marketplaces is important. It's definitely important to run everything. So I think it's definitely for the good, and I think especially for our industry, Xometry, Proto Labs, and a few other hubs, of course, 3D hubs. Did a great job, just a great job of providing this new experience for the customers, online quoting experience, just basically setting the bar also kind of a bar to e-commerce part of that. I think it was important, especially on the early days, again, through the HubSpot Labs and then Xometry. So yeah, so even Shapeways at some point, I remember the days when Shapeways was basically I think almost the first company that actually produced this concept of the instant quoting and just online quoting and e-commerce experience. So all of that basically, I think, just the foundation for what we're having now, which is great, which is just helping to push industry forward. Yep.
Yeah, no, and I think for a shop starting out, they're great tools to basically for a shop to outsource their sales department. Say I'm starting a business, I need to organize all these processes and these digital marketplaces from the manufacturer side, from the supplier side, basically means I don't have to learn this piece quite yet. Let me get all this leveled out, and then I'll start digging into this independently. Which is, I'd say, I had my flow roughed in, but that helped me. Using Xometry helped me build up my tool catalog, helped me build up my capabilities and things in house as we started really ramping up on our own customers.
Yeah. That's great. So, of course, I wanted to ask about like overall how you're thinking about like customer experience, like from the quoting and the payments and invoicing perspective. So we already talked about that, of course, that it's obviously like super essential for any shop that want to stand out and be better CNC shops or better 3D printing shop, better sheet metal shop, whatever. So for sure. So, or did you notice what's your customers sort of the first customer experience, basically, if maybe you talk to them, of course, maybe they shared with you how they found your shop, what was the first experience with placing the order on your website. So what's your maybe some takes on that, like what you learned from that, I would say.
Yeah, let's say a little bit of my roadmap when I first started, and pause real quick. I don't know how much you want to go into this. I am a paperless parts customer.
Sure, I know,
so,
sure.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But on my roadmap, when I first started BetterCNC, I had full intention of using paperless parts as soon as I could, because for me, the customer experience is a big part of what I want. I want to appear modern. I want to appear clean, simple, just ease of use for my customers. The easier the process for them, the easier it'll be to capture them and keep them with BetterCNC. So when I first started, paperless parts was kind of the dominant one for the CNC machining when it comes to digital quotes and stuff like that. And so I think my second month after I went full time, I got set up with them to where I could do digital quotes. And that's having that technology is a big winner. I've probably won $50,000+ over the last couple of years from just the convenience of placing an order with me over competitors. So that's been a big thing for me right out of the gate, is just that customer experience. My initial orders was just through QuickBooks. Mm-hmm. It was usually just email. I'd say it's going to be this much. I'm usually honest with them. I would tell them I'm just starting out. I've got a machine. I got the experience. Here's how much it'll be, and once they say okay, I ship an invoice over out of QuickBooks.
Yeah, I think it's a big advantage of the new shops, of course, that if you compare new shops to like the shops that have been in the industry for 20 years, 30 years, advantage is that because you're building everything from the ground, just from scratch, of course you're thinking first from the customer perspective, basically what you as the customer, if you're being the customer, what would be the flow or the experience that you want yourself to get from the shop, basically. And that's why, of course, using the tools like us, like Paperless Part, like of course others, that's kind of no question, no brainer thing. It's just something that you have to have, because again, like you already experienced the things like when you're placing the order somewhere where it's no online quoting, nothing else, it's over email, it's an RFQ in 48 hours or more in a lot of the cases.
PDFs so back and forth.
Yep. So you just wanted to avoid this experience at all for you and of course for your customers. So yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's slightly easier, kind of, starting from the from scratch, of course. But again, nonetheless, I think it's extremely important for anyone now to look into that as the just essential part of the flow. And again, I think many industries basically went through the same change, through the same evolution. 2D cutting, not 2D cutting, but 2D printing, like normal printing, is also went through the same thing, of course. And now we have like all the online resources. When if you're ordering something like business cards or something, it's always online. It's basically always online. You're just trying to avoid any services that ask you, okay, guys, just please send us the files over email, or even worse, like upload to FTP. I mean, it's just nonsense. It's just nonsense. So yeah, I think it's a big change, and it's important change, and that's just the way how the industry evolving.
Yeah, no, and if you think about Amazon, who kind of dominates e-commerce, big reason they do it is because they have everything, and I mean they have one click. You click a single button and you buy it. And the manufacturing industry is kind of going through that revolution where the sales experience used to be all these different steps from here to here, and like Amazon figured out how to make it this, and then just manufacturing starting to work its way to that eventual single click and order kind of concept. And bigger companies, older companies, if they don't find a way to adopt that kind of technology into their company, then they'll fall behind to the upstarts that are taking advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. So the other thing that I again noticed on your LinkedIn, so you just recently did the survey with a small business, specifically small machine shops. So what's your takes if you already got some responses from that? So what's the most interesting thing that you find out?
Yeah. So I don't know how much you looked at it. The questions for this first one are pretty basic. I've had the idea of doing kind of a top shops for small shops. So I threw this together on a Sunday and put it out. But biggest takeaway right now I've noticed is most small shops don't really have, like we've talked a lot about organization and stuff like that. Most small shops don't have any solution. It's primarily Excel spreadsheets, Google spreadsheets, just kind of whatever they can piece together to get themselves started and out the door.
Yeah, that's my findings too. Absolutely the same. So I mean, in a lot of the cases when we work with the machine shops or, again, sheet metal organizations, so in most of the cases, we really basically replacing spreadsheets. I mean, not even competing with anyone. It's still a blue ocean, for sure. It's a very, very large blue ocean still. And sometimes, I mean, it's interesting thing because sometimes it is harder to move from spreadsheets to, let's say, Digifapser, or then in comparison than, let's say, from paperless parts to Digifapser or vice versa. So spreadsheets is different. It's basically different mentality, like very different. Again, you just, even though you use kind of the same variables and things like that, but when you move to the quote unquote digital quoting, so it is different. So it's slightly easier to move someone from who already have experience, of course, with the software, with the quoting, online quoting, and just in general familiar with this concept, rather than moving from the spreadsheets. Because moving from the spreadsheets, it's painful. It's really, really painful, especially because if you did it for last 20 years, 50 years, 15 years, whatever, it's painful. It's painful. It's changing everything for you. And so this is something that I believe slowed down the industry because, again, even though people feel the competition from others, of course, and feel the need in the quick quoting, in streamlining the quoting process, but this move to, I mean, not only from spreadsheets to the digital quoting, but also sometimes from drawings to step files is very, very painful. So, and that's, again, things that slow down the industry a bit. And I still don't know the solution for that, how we can accelerate it, to be honest. It's a hard problem to solve, and maybe it just will take more time. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think a lot of that kind of thing it's because if you think about somebody that's been using a spreadsheet, even if they've used it only for 3 to 5 years versus somebody that's been doing it for 20 years, it's going from that to a dedicated software is kind of stepping to the great unknown. They have a spreadsheet. They have the flow they're doing. They're like, I built this spreadsheet. I know how every piece of this works.
Yeah.
Versus I'm trusting what you built will do what my spreadsheet's been doing for me. And it's just
Yeah.
kind of people learning how to trust in that leap.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, for
that
sure.
the software solution will do what the spreadsheet did plus some.
Yeah. So do you think it's is this the only thing that kind of slowing down the industry, or it's something even bigger than that? What's your take on that? Like, what exactly now needs to be maybe not even fixed, but I don't know, maybe changed or probably accelerated slightly in the industry to just move faster?
I think another piece is just so there's been software for manufacturing for 40, 50 years now. But it hasn't been until maybe the past 5, 10 years that it's actually started evolving to be more useful, to be more modern. And just, I think the reputation around manufacturing software on any level has just been ruined by the Comcast of manufacturing software. They built the first product. It was outdated after 10 years, but they were the big guys, so they never had to change. And now everybody just kind of default assumes, oh, it's just another one of these. It's not really going to solve my problem. So the same house with a new paint job.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's absolutely 100% resonating from with my experience, because again, it just noticeable when you're talking to the customers, and especially it was the case 5 years ago, maybe 7 years ago, when we started to talking about the software overall to any machine shop owner. So they, of course, assuming, okay, so you're selling me like another ERP system or something like that. We know that implementation of ERP system can take like year, I don't know, or something like that. And I guess this experience is really embodied into many shop owners. Like, I don't know, I don't want to touch it anymore. Like all my past experience saying me like, no, please don't jump into this black hole. So that's what I learned, especially in the very early days of Digifabster. Now I believe it's better, so people of course have better understanding. They also like finally exposed to the better software, and they can see that B2B software now is actually user friendly, which is like extremely important, because again, like, I mean, it's on the other side, it's always human that using the whatever B2C or B2B software, the same humans. Like, why B2B software needs to be like that complex and terrible? So yeah, so I think it's happening. It's slightly slower than we want, but definitely happening, which is of course good. That's for sure good. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I'd say it's just it's something that'll just get faster with time as people get more acclimated to that hey, there actually can be useful software for this environment that's been kind of used and abused for the past 40 years. And so as more people get into it, as new companies start and grow, and as old companies transition ownership to people who are just generally more modern, more tech savvy, that adoption rate will naturally just ramp up with all that.
Yeah. So is this the only thing that you're anticipating from the future in manufacturing, that evolving of the software and just making things more user-friendly, customer experience is better, or it's something else that you, again, anticipating or wanted to to change slightly? Is it anything bigger than that that you would want to change in manufacturing in the next 10 years, let's say?
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen is, let's say, because you always see a lot of stuff talking about Industry 4.0 and things like that, and it's generally automation and robots and and stuff that's best suited for bigger companies involved with big production jobs and stuff like that. From a software evolution standpoint, though, all that stuff doesn't do well for the smaller businesses in the industry, which happens to be the majority of the businesses in the industry. So I think the natural evolution that we're starting to see the last couple of years is software is really digging in and really trying to find ways to improve the management side, starting with quoting quoting
Yeah.
and invoicing and things like that. And I think it'll move more into process management. You already have some startups, but I'd say Pro Shop. I mean, I say startups. Some of them have been around for a little bit. Pro Shop is really starting to take up, and you starting to see Fulcrum is still starting to take up. Just newer companies enter the business management space, trying to make the process flow front to back a little bit simpler. And you'll start to see companies like Epicor and JobBoss and JobBoss Squared, which used to be E2, start to fall further behind because they're kind of the data dinosaurs in the industry.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I completely agree. And again, it's more of the things of like just kind of democratization, if you can use this word now, of everything, of course, because again, like it's I mean, it's for the long time it is the software that, again, like in B2B specifically, initially all the software was obviously for enterprise organization, for the bigger organization, that just suitable for bigger organization. Now it's of course B2B, we have a lot of B2B software, and I think this concept is overall applicable to many other things. Again, we're thinking about, like, as you said, industry 4.0, the robotic arms and stuff like that. So everything slowly but steadily moving to the direction when it's accessible for people, that's accessible for small businesses, of course. And that's important. That's important because, again, like small business is obviously the main driver behind, well, the economy, of course, and just just regular people. And that's something that just help, well, everyone. I mean, it will help everyone on all the kind of the level, of course, like on the country level, on the family, on the household level. So that's, I think, the only way to to move forward, in the industry and just overall.
Yeah, no, and I think as it gets more accessible to smaller businesses, because it used to be, the one experience I had, like with Raytheon a few years back, is big companies aren't allowed to work with one supplier. They have to work with more than one, just so they have redundancy in their process.
Mm-hmm.
But it used to be where they would have like two to choose from that were local to their area. But as small businesses crop up and grow, because I think the last few years there's just been an absolute blast of new machine shops starting out. It's, let's say, like you said, it's the whole thing is being democratized.
Yeah.
Or however you say that word.
Yeah.
But where instead of having two bigger options to choose from, a company may have 20 different resources that they can ping out. And I think hopefully stuff will evolve and shift to where not everything's being built for the big company that has $1 million profit. Yep. It'll be suited for small shops where you get $100 profit from 1 million customers.
Yeah. Completely agree. So I think it's a perfect high note to wrap things up. So again, Jesse, thank you so much. It was a big pleasure. Again, talking to you, of course, learning more about what you're doing at BetterCNC, of course, and just overall how you viewing the industry. So yeah, thank you so much. It was a big pleasure. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, JC.